Good morning. Welcome to Elizabeth Sharon Ann Bible Study. We do this every morning at 8:30 and just can't hardly wait to get started each day with you joining us. Thank you for joining us. If you're new, drop your name in the chat box so we can see who you are, and like this page. If you like it, then you can get notifications, turn on the notifications so you'll know each time that we come on live. And most generally, I'll say 99% of the time, it's 8:30 Central Standard Time, but yesterday was an exception. Yesterday was a weather mess all the way across the board. I lost electricity. I had a flood in my backyard, which it all goes downhill. There's no problem with my home, but it was just one of those days that, okay, we'll just kick back and just enjoy the silence of no electricity, no noise in the house. So it was fine. But we really didn't get to jump into the Bible study like probably we would have with all of the different things that was happening through that time. So we'll touch base on some of it this morning. And so good morning, Jan, Laura. Oh, and I think I saw Judy on there. So I can't see just everybody. So I'll go back after we're done and check it out. And so I want to start with my devotion this morning. Oh, and I also need to remind you to submit your prayer requests and your praise reports. Praise reports are, we had no tornadoes in Oklahoma yesterday, thank goodness. I haven't really listened to the weather or anything, but reports, but I don't think there was anything. They thought there was going to be, but there wasn't. So this is June 9th, and my name's Debbie. So welcome. So this devotion is really good today. It says, Jesus, I bring you all of my feelings, including the ones I wish I didn't have. Can you relate to that? Do you have feelings that you don't even know why you have those feelings? They make no sense. It says, I confess that my fear and anxiety often plague me, tempting me to focus on myself instead of trusting you. Do you feel that way? Have you ever just like said, no, I've got things going on that you don't understand. So, it's all about me. Look on down. Lord, please enabled me to keep affirming my faith regardless of how I feel. See, that's how we need to be today. Our feelings change. We need to stay in the word and stay prayed up. I've seen that when I persist in declaring my trust in you, my feelings eventually fall in line with my faith. Have you ever thought about, after you're through praying, just bust out and singing? There's just something happens whenever you sing it to the top of your lungs in your house, outside, just wherever you want to start praising. I don't want to hide from my fear or pretend it isn't there. Now this is an important one for somebody. If I hide anxiety in the recesses of my heart, it gives birth to fear of fear, a monstrous mutation. Instead, I choose to bring my anxieties into the light of your presence, where you can show me how to deal with them. Help me to persevere in trusting you and living close to you. Then fearlessness will gradually lose its foothold in me. I just thought that was a wonderful one to read this morning, and I know that there's so many things going on, and we just get wrapped up in the anxiety of what if, and can I put gas in my car? Can I find the groceries I want? Can I pay my bills? Can I buy medicine? Unbelievable, everything that is coming at us all at once. So now let's jump into our reading today. And this is from the One Year Bible, and I've got the New Living Translation for our one-year Bible. I've got a NIV laying out here, and then I have another one that I just got not very long ago, and it is the Net Bible, N-E-T. And I really bought it because it had big print and bold print, so I could see it better in when the lighting isn't just the best. So see, I'm telling you that I'm getting older. Okay, now then, let's get going here, because this all is so good, and I found some nuggets in here today, so I'm going to share them with you. So now in 1 Kings 5:1, King Hiram of Tyre had always been a loyal friend of David. When Hiram learned that David's son Solomon was the new king of Israel, he sent ambassadors to congratulate him. So Solomon sent this message back to him, and if you read on down through that, he finishes. He's got a great message to Hiram. It is very respectful. It is that letter you get in the mail that you just feel like that you found your new best friend. It says in verse 5, he's telling him he's planning to build a temple to honor the name of the Lord my God, just as he instructed my father David. And see, he's claiming right there that he's his God. For the Lord told him, your son, whom I will place on your throne, will build a temple to honor my name. And then verse 6 in 1 Kings 5, verse 6, therefore, please command that cedars from Lebanon be cut for me. Let my men work alongside yours, and I will pay them whatever wages you ask. Wow, that's an open checkbook. And then, as you know, there is no one among us who can cut timber like you Sidonians. So I wanted to stop there for a minute. First of all, he is specifically requesting the cedars from Lebanon. Now, you remember how wise and smart and full of knowledge Solomon is, and we read that how many proverbs he wrote, poems, songs he wrote, and knew about all of the trees, the plants, the animals. He could tell them everything about that. He was so smart that he knew it all. He picked cedars from Lebanon. So I thought, so since Saul picked cedars of Lebanon, what's special about these cedars? So there's going to be a lot, but this is just one thing that I found, and I thought it was so great. There's three things. Which kind of makes it spiritual. Absence of all human culture. They just grow. They grow. They don't have to be fertilized, watered. They do their own thing, which is a glorious display of divine care. See, these trees are living in a perpetual state of springtime. They're green all the time. The birds love them. The animals can seek shade from them because, see, they get up to like 130 feet tall and about 8 feet in diameter wide. That's an approximation. Hosea speaks of the smell of Lebanon. It's said to be, for these trees, it's said to be the most delightful, fragrant cedar wood perfume drifting in the air. Do you think that's, just think about him picking this tree to build the temple. The trees of the Lord, these trees are full of sap, the fullness of the living principle. So think about that. They are able to, in the foundation of the tree, in the root system, they are able to get everything they need. You know, we might call it a wild tree. We have trees all around that we don't necessarily take care of, but these trees are in such a place that nobody waters them. Nobody does anything. Just think about any trees really. Without the sap that runs through the trees, they just become a dead post. And for us, without God in our heart, we're a dead post. We're not a Christian. You can go mindlessly through the motions, just like a tree growing. You can just go mindlessly through the motions, but never see heaven. See, whenever you don't have the God in your heart, you're punching your ticket to hell. These trees are known for their longevity and their resistance to decay. We should be known for that too, because when we take care of our temple, our body is the temple, then that's helping us to resist the enemy. In Psalms 92:12, it says, the righteous shall flourish like a palm tree. He shall grow like the cedar of Lebanon. I just thought that was so cool. Now that was one of my nuggets of this today. So verse 7, Hiram received Solomon's message and he was very pleased. Said, praise the Lord today for giving David a wise son. So they have a good relationship happening. And so, you know, he said, whenever Solomon said, I'll pay your men whatever you want. Well, he says, you can pay me by supplying me with food for my household. Great deal. So they have an alliance of peace. And so then look in 13, King Solomon conscripted a labor force of 30,000 men. And he sent them in ships. And that was super cool to me because this was like the first ship work, right? He would send 10,000 every month so that each man would be in Lebanon for 1 month and home 2 months. He valued the family unit. He knew that happy workers were happy workers. I mean, if you have a happy life at home and you look forward to work because you know that the bell's going to ring and you're going to get to go home for 2 months. I think that's awesome. And so it says, at the king's command, they quarried large rocks of high quality stone and shaped them to make the foundation of the temple. And as it goes on down to see, I wonder where I put those notes. Let me look here real quick. I think it is in verse 7. The stones used in construction of the temple were finished at the quarry, so there was no sound of hammer, axe, or any other iron tool at the building site. Look how respectful they were of God's temple they were building. They didn't even use a tool that could kill somebody, harm somebody, damage something. Everything was done away from the site, brought into the temple, and probably quietly and reverently put together in the, as it was laid out, as Solomon laid it out. So this speaks to the way that we should work for God. We don't want it to be in appearance only. See, look how they were working in the foundation. They were working down in this area that they got this stone. It speaks to the way God works in us, and it speaks to the way that God builds the church. It's all precise. It's clear. It has plans laid out. We have our plans laid out in this. This is our template for how we should build our life. Verse 11, the Lord gave this message to Solomon. Concerning his temple you are building, if you keep all of my decrees and regulations and obey all of my commands, I will fulfill through you the promise I made to your father, David. I will, and I'm emphasizing this because these are all promises for us. I will live among the Israelites, or I will live among you, and never abandon my people, Israel. See, if you will do this, he will fulfill his promise to you. This was an important reminder and a renewal of the previous promises. As you read all of the numbers and everything and all of the detail and description in this, it is just absolutely amazing that something like this was laid out precisely with the measurements, the numbers, and everything means something. I don't have all of this, I haven't researched every single number, but I just thought, wow, besides the construction part, when you get down to the decorations, I mean, they had the craftsmen, the people that were talented, skilled with the ability to build all of this. Think about, they made 2 cherubim of wild olive wood, each 15 feet tall, and placed them in the inner sanctuary. Oh my goodness. The cherubim, these were these angels, these cherubim were first put in the Garden of Eden to guard it. They worship. Man, I had written that down on something, everything I wanted to say about that, and I guess I wrote it down and lost it. That would be a shame on my part. Oh, I found it. They are associated with worship, praise, serving God, performing divine duties in the earthly realm. They've got 15 feet tall in their wingspan, 15 feet, being 7.5 feet, and the building is 30 feet wide. So whenever they put them there, they completely, the wingspan covered the whole end, right? So then everything was layered in gold. Does it make you think of what we've read, the description of heaven? The streets are gold. Gold is precious. Just think, I mean, it's pretty expensive to go buy a pair of gold earrings. There's going to be a day that we're going to be walking on gold. It'll be no big deal. So much for thinking that there's a lot of precious metals underneath our feet. That's heaven. It's showing us that earthly things is no big deal. So when this temple was finished, it was spectacular. It took like 7 years to build it. It was easy for the people to focus on the temple of God instead of God of the temple. Can you just imagine the beauty of it? And they came and looked and saw and just thought, oh man, this is beautiful, but they got to probably where they didn't focus on the reason for it. Now let's jump on into Acts 7, 1 through 29. This is Stephen's speech to the Sanhedrin. Now, yesterday we lost electricity. We had Elizabeth and I were trying to talk about this, and things were just not going good. So I'm going to recap a little bit. Stephen, in yesterday's reading, was called in verse 8, Stephen, a man of full of God's grace, power, and he performed amazing miracles and signs among the people. See, he was one of them that was distributing food, but he also used that opportunity to help people in many ways. And he was very smart. Nobody around there could stand against him in the wisdom and the spirit of which he spoke. So now then the Sanhedrin doesn't like that, because he's speaking in a manner that they don't agree with. They didn't give him permission to speak. They didn't want him to talk about Jesus, because see, they killed him. But as we ended in verse 15 from yesterday, Stephen's face became bright as an angel. So that's where we ended yesterday. Now today, the high priest, they just jump in there like they didn't even look at his face. I bet they kept their faces down. I bet they didn't look at him, because they're asking him only, are these accusations true? See, I always find it interesting whenever they don't list everything that he did. Number one, you did this. Number two, you said that. Number three, I saw you over here handing out food to the wrong people. I mean, I could just imagine all of these different things, but all they said was, are these accusations true? And this high priest that's mentioned here was probably still Caiaphas, the same one who presided over Jesus's trial. And so now then, let's go on. Stephen's reply, and as you read through Stephen's reply, we have this today and tomorrow, but it's really amazing, because I don't see, as you won't see, anywhere where he's trying to justify anything he said, did, or the people that he associated with. His reply is basically a historical story about Abraham and how God worked through the Israelites. As you go on through there, I just went through and I highlighted everywhere that God appeared in this. He says, brothers and fathers, listen to me. Our glorious God appeared to Abraham. Then he goes on down in verse 3. God told him to leave your land. And then God brought him here to the land you live in now. But God gave him no inheritance. But God promised him that he would have the land. I mean, I'm jumping through there just where I've highlighted. God also told him that his descendants would live in a foreign land. But I will punish them that enslave them. God also gave Abraham the covenant of circumcision. And then God was with them, and God gave him favor. God also gave Joseph unusual wisdom. See, he's never once has he said anything about his accusations. He is talking, showing them how faithful God is. How brilliant is this? I think they're just sitting there thinking, this isn't why we brought him in here. Who started that? See, Stephen goes on, starting in verse 9, he's reminding them of the story of Joseph, because he's a picture of Jesus. The sons of Israel rejected Joseph, who later became a savior to them. He's showing them all of this. Stephen emphasized the spiritual presence of God with Joseph all the time. The only land Abraham ever actually possessed in Canaan was his burial plot. I thought that was so interesting. So he continued talking. God would fulfill his promise to Abraham. He went on to talk about Moses. Moses was taught all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and he was powerful in both speech and action. And then he talks about Moses killing the Egyptian. I mean, he lays out the whole message that we have read in the Old Testament. So he says in verse 25 that God had sent him to rescue them, but they didn't. Moses assumed his fellow Israelites would realize that God had sent them to rescue him, but they didn't. So Stephen's message to them: you've rejected Jesus, who was like Moses, yet greater than him, and you deny that Jesus has any right to be a ruler or a judge over you. Stephen, remember it said that he was skilled in speaking. None of them could stand against the wisdom and the spirit. Now, how could we relate to that today? Because see, like, you're going to be standing in front of somebody one of these days, and they're going to ask you why you believe what you do, why you stand for what you stand for. What do you say? Mark 13, verse 11, Jesus said, when they arrest you and hand you over for a trial, don't worry about what you speak, but just say whatever is given to you at that time, for it is not you speaking, but the Holy Spirit. And that's Mark 13, verse 11. See, this was Stephen. The Holy Spirit is speaking through him and telling him what to say throughout all of this. Yeah, I think I had another reference there, but I will wait on that since I'm running out of time. So now then, let's jump into Psalms 127. And I've got to get my other Bible out, and I guess I didn't mark my place, and I'm going to get there just pretty quick. Psalms 127 had an excellent footnote in my Life Application Bible. Okay. Unless the Lord builds the house, its builders labor in vain. Now, this sounds like Solomon building the temple, doesn't it? Unless the Lord watches over a city, the watchmen stand guard in vain. We need the Lord to stand over our country, don't we? The division is absolutely unreal and ridiculous. If everybody just joined us in Bible study every morning, man, we could solve everything, couldn't we? Families establish homes and watchmen guard cities, but both these activities are futile unless if God is in them. A family without God can never experience the bond God brings to relationships. A city without God will crumble from evil and corruption on the inside. I mean, that's why let's put God back in school, folks. Let's put God back in our government. Don't make the mistake of leaving God out of your life. If you do, all your accomplishments will be futile. Make God your highest priority and let Him do the building. Verse 2, in vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for He grants sleep to those He loves. There was days that I felt like I worked 24/7. I had a phone on my hip, and I answered calls from people that I worked with all across the area. And I probably didn't spend the time I should have with my husband because I was busy. But you know what? God created the world, and He did it in 6 days, and He rested the 7th day. We can take time out of our day to rest to spend time with our families. Don't get caught up in that work situation, because you're going to retire one of these days and you're going to see your family has grown. They're gone. It's not like it was, and you can't retake that time back. Children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from Him. You know what? Those children that you just found out you were going to have a baby, congratulations. Some aren't that happy about it, and they seek to do something different. I just want them to hear right now, children are a gift from the Lord. How joyful is the man whose quiver is full of them. Proverbs 16:28 through 30. A troublemaker plants seeds of strife. Gossip separates the best of friends. Oh, what are we talking about? Putting God back in our schools and our government and our communities? Oh my goodness. When I first read that, the first thing I thought of was social media. I saw a precious picture of a young man that is a sports person, and his wife and their baby. I thought, oh, how cute. And I started reading the comments. I saw the worst comments ever. Why would anybody make ugly comments when it's just a precious picture? Well, people like to stir things up. They like confrontation. They like debates. They like to speak evil. They're not used to doing anything else. Violent people mislead their companions, leading them down a harmful path. With narrowed eyes, people plot evil with a smirk, and they plan their mischief. Oh, friends, we need to post Proverbs 16:28 through 30 on your social media today. Would it be nice if we had a whole day on social media that people really thought about what they say, how they say it, how they respond, the words they use, maybe even when you've got a face-to-face conversation with somebody, watch your facial expressions and your body language, because that says a lot right there, whether you're being true or not. It's important, folks. We're all here together, and we do life together, and we can be better together, but we have to learn how to love each other together. So you have a blessed day, a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow. And remember to keep Elizabeth's family in your prayers. And just keep her father lifted up as you go throughout this day. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.